Hello everyone, welcome to Political Science class for class 12. Okay, we'll continue with from the previous session, that is on chapter 10. We are discussing in the previous session we have discussed the end of bipolarity. Yeah, what led or what caused the end of the Soviet disintegration of the Soviet Union. Okay, and we have started with the shock therapy, and in this session we'll continue with this. Okay, shock therapy, it means treating a patient by administering some shock or a blow. Okay, so it's just like this. Okay, like a shock or a blow, it was felt for the Russian. Okay, this shock therapy is for especially for Russia. Okay. Okay, what was that shock or what was that blow? In Russia, after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, she wanted to establish a new type of order. All right, so this new type of order in place of the old existing political system. In this new order, she wanted to change her pattern of economy, that is the business and industries that was controlled by the state. All right, the Soviet Union, they were under the communist, so the business as well as the industries and the agriculture, it was controlled by the state, somewhat like a socialist pattern of economy. But under the new order, they want to shift it to the private firms. All right, and on the political, the communist dictatorship that was present in the Soviet, they want to turn it into a democratic institution. So the change from a community-based economy to a private-based economy, and from a dictatorship to a democratic institution, the change was in a very drastic way. Okay, so a shock was felt for the Russians. In short, shock therapy will be a change from a totalitarian socialist regime to a democratic capitalist regime. Okay, in short, that will be the definition for shock therapy. Okay, what are the effects or what are the consequences of shock therapy? The first, it is the economic crisis. Okay, under the economic crisis, the present, okay, that was existing, that is the collective agriculture farm that was in existence in Russia, they wanted to be handed over to the private firms. Okay, again, the industries, they wanted to convert it into a private-based industries. That's why the president, that is Boris Yeltsin, during that time, the president, his period of presidency was somewhat like an economic crisis. All right. And on the other hand, the friends, relatives, and the close associates of Boris Yeltsin, they started to buy these large chunks of agriculture farms as well as industries. So now the collective agriculture farm that was controlled by many was now in the hands of the few and the rich top bureaucrats. All right. So his period was somewhat like a period of economic crisis. When they started to buy these industries and agriculture farm, this period was also called the largest garage sale. Okay, under the economic crisis. Okay, point number 2, we have a high rate of inflation and a condition of bankruptcy. When this agriculture, collective agriculture farms went to the few individuals, that is on the private lines, there increased the rate of inflation because people was left with jobless. All right, there increased poverty, and inflation here means increase in price commodity and the value. The buying commodity, the rate was falling low. So poverty increased as well as the debt of Russia's foreign debt also increased. That is to 160 billion. All right. Now the value of the currency of the Russia, that is ruble, it also declined. Okay. The moment the currency, that is ruble, it declined, people started to lose their savings in the bank. Okay. Now Russia, she went on to get loans so that she could equip herself for the economy, but it did not give her a positive reply. In fact, she was landed with debt, okay, with 160 billion of debt. Okay, point number 3, we have collapse of social welfare scheme. Okay, the Soviet Union, she was the first country who recognizes the right to work for the citizenship. The state government also gave assistance in time for the illness as well as for the old age. Okay, and even health facilities was given to them in time of this shortage of financial assistance. But when the economic crisis and a high rate of inflation is started to grow, people fall under this. They needed welfare scheme. Okay, there was a huge increase of people needing the scheme, but the social welfare scheme was not in a position to help the poor and the needy, because on the one hand there was an increase in poverty, and on the other hand there was a downfall in the currency, that is the ruble. Okay, point number 4, we have in economic inequalities. When Russia started to change her economy to privatization, and where the agriculture and industries were landed in the hands of the few, economic inequalities, it started to happen. This new type of order that they were trying to establish in Russia, it divided Russia into haves and the have-not. Okay, and the government security that was being given to the public, it was no more. The people was left alone. All right, so there was a huge increase of inequality, mainly because of privatization. Okay, now we have, okay, point 1 to 4, it is somewhat referring to the economy of the country. All right, point number 5, it's about political crisis. Okay, they were trying to shift from communist to dictatorship, which was a good form of government. But why crisis? Okay, why there was a crisis in Russia? This is because when the Soviet Union started to disintegrate, Russia, she was evolving herself. And since the USA, that is the other superpower, since she followed a capitalist and a democratic model of government, and it was developing at a very fast rate, Russia also started or thought about a democratic institution. So when they were framing the constitution, they framed the constitution very hurriedly. Okay, and under the constitution, they gave the executive power. The executive here, the Russians, they follow a presidential. So the president was given huge amount of power, okay, as compared to the democratic institution. So these two were the reason where there was a crisis. Constitution was framed in a hurry, and under the executive, the power of the president was vested with many activities. All right. So in 1993, Boris Yeltsin, that is the then president of Russia, he threatened to dissolve the parliament so as to bring about a reform in Russia. But he did not do so. In 1995, fresh election was held. He won the election. Okay, Boris Yeltsin, he won the 1995 election. But on the 31st of December 1999, he resigned. This year, please remember, 1999, he resigned. And on 2000, when a fresh election was held, Vladimir Putin, who won the election. When he was the president, Vladimir Putin, he was the vice president, okay? And when he resigned in this period, he became the acting president. And when in 2000, a fresh election was held, he became the president of Russia. When he became the president of Russia, he tried to reform the economy of Russia, which was a very good economic policy, and under his presidency, the economy of the Russia was back into the track. All right. So recently in Russia, referendum was held. Referendum means a policy where people are asked to vote for a maybe a political change. Okay. In this referendum, which was held in 25th of June till the 1st of July, they tried to amend the constitution of Russia, and it allowed Vladimir Putin to rule for another 12 years. Okay, this year, that is 2020, his term is still 2024. And if we add another 12 years to here, that means he could rule Russia for his lifetime. Okay, why? Because his economic policies, okay, and his political development favored the Russians. So they favored and they voted the referendum, which allowed him to rule for another 12 more years. Okay, so these are the 5 points which caused or which led to the effects of shock therapy, especially in Russia. Okay. All right, our next topic is the relevance of the non-alignment movement. Okay, we have discussed this in the previous chapter. During the Cold War, non-alignment movement. It emerged in 1961. So this non-alignment movement is a movement not to join any other power bloc, that is the Russians or the Soviet bloc. Okay, so in this, with the end of bipolarity, that means the disintegration of the Soviet Union, do we need the non-alignment movement? What is her relevant in this present contemporary world politics? Or what is the future there for the non-alignment movement? So there are two views or two groups. One group, statement, they say that the non-alignment movement is not relevant. And the other group, they say the non-alignment movement is still relevant. So we'll go to the first one. The non-alignment is not relevant. There are few statements who says that the NAM or non-alignment movement is not relevant, because the aim of the non-alignment movement was not to join any other power bloc. With the downfall of the Soviet Union, the world has only one superpower, that is USA. So it is not relevant. The other view says that the process of colonization is no more. The smaller countries, they got their respective freedom, so we don't need the non-alignment movement. Third, the racial discrimination or apartheid that was in existence in the African continent, especially in the South Africa, it also came to an end. Okay, and the other viewpoint is that now all over the world, they stood for peace and cooperation. Peace and cooperation is two features of all the countries which they want to keep as with the neighboring countries as well as in the international organizations. So this peace and cooperation is the aim of almost all the countries. Okay, even though we don't need this non-alignment movement. So these are the views where some of the few statements, they say that the purpose of the non-alignment movement is no more, or we don't need the non-alignment movement. But there are also other group who says that the non-alignment movement is relevant and it is more needed in the contemporary world politics. Okay, because in the first summit, which was held in 1961, their focus was mainly on the political issue, that is not to join any of the power bloc. The moment the disintegration of Soviet Union happened, their aim also shifted from political to economic. Okay, so with the change of time and with the change of the environment, their aim also, or their focus also, it changed. That is, now they are more focused on the economy of the world. Okay, the other view is that the world is still faced with terrorism, especially in India. Okay, she's faced with a border terror conflict with her neighboring country, that is Pakistan. Okay, the other issue is of this neocolonialism. Neocolonialism. This is a new type of colonialism where a powerful country or a powerful business, or we can say the MNCs, multinational corporation, they started to control the economy of the least developed countries. For example, the MNCs, we can give Amazon. This is a business company, and this company is very rich than as compared to other small countries, right? So the MNCs under the neocolonialism is creating an impact to the smaller countries. The other view under this relevance of NAM will be establishment of new international economic order. The present World Bank, World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, these three organizations are being controlled by the developed countries, okay? And the trade policies are somewhat made so as to suit the interests of the developed countries. So they want to establish a new type of economic order where the least developed countries has a voice in the economy, or especially in the trading system, okay? And also in this World Bank. They want to liberalize the loan policy so that the smaller countries could afford the loans, which is based on equality and which is based on self-sufficiency. So under this new economic order, the non-alignment countries, they want to change this, okay, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Trade Organization, so that the least developed countries would have an increasing voice in this, okay, new international economic order. The other point under this will be foreign policy. The smaller countries, when they are framing their respective foreign policy means a policy where a country has some points so as to have relations with other countries. For example, India's relations with Russia is different. The foreign policy is different than India's having relations with the United States, because the aims, the policies that they want to have with other country, it differs. So here under the foreign policy, the non-alignment movement, they say that the smaller countries should have an independency in framing this. All right, they don't want the smaller countries to be influenced by the rich or the developed countries when they are framing the foreign policy. Okay, and the other will be human rights. They want to have increased voice in human rights because of the increase in poverty, which is killing thousands of people as compared to the terrorism that is in existence. When we compare terrorist attack and the issues of poverty, poverty is being killing a lot as when we compare to the terrorist attack that is being made or that is being played by the Taliban or the jihadis especially in the Western countries. So these are some of the views where the statement says that NAM can play an effective role, especially in the economic. Okay. The next is cohesive. Cohesive means sticking together. Okay, the views that we have just discussed can be accomplished if NAM follow the policy of cohesive, sticking together. There are countries within the NAM, there is conflict. Okay, there is conflict, there is distrust, especially India, Pakistan. So this distrust and conflict needs to be resolved so as to have a cohesive for the non-alignment movement. So if the non-alignment movement follow the principle of cohesiveness, then these points will be able to be realized, or they will have a smooth flow in the relevance of the non-alignment movement. So with this, we have come to the end of this unit, that is unit 10, end of bipolarity. In this unit, the importance is the causes for disintegration of the Soviet Union, the shock therapy, the causes of the shock therapy, and the relevance of the non-alignment movement. You can choose any of these, okay? It's not relevant or relevant, and you have to give examples to support your answers under this. All right, so this is the end of this topic. Thank you.